Welcome to this HR Talk Show People at Work. This is a channel for education, support, and shared insights from business and HR leaders on industry topics and trends to enable a deeper understanding of the people side of business. It provides an opportunity for successful and inspired leaders to freely exchange their insights, knowledge, ideas, and experiences with the curious members of the business and HR fraternity. Our aim is to help organizations to make the most of their people and leverage people in organizations for their competitive advantage. Real estate sector is one of the most globally recognized sectors in any economy. The construction industry ranks third among the 14 major sectors of the economy. Real estate sector in India is expected to grow a market size of $1 trillion by 2040 from 120 billion in 2016 and contribute 13% to the country's GDP by 2025. However, not all is hunky-dory. India's once booming housing market has not seen many sunny days since the financial meltdown in 2008. A sequence of events like the demonetization, RERA, GST, the NPAs of the banks, and now COVID-19 haven't been favorable for the housing market and has adversely affected the fortunes. The pandemic stopped a lot of people in their track, but also set many in motion. There are green shoots of enthusiasm getting visible, and the housing industry is pinning its hope on reversal of fortunes with a post-dramatic twist: online home buying. The COVID-19 pandemic has ushered in a digital boom, and almost every transactions have gone online. There is an increased comfort level of the Indian consumer with interactions and buying online. Preference of the new age home buyer has evolved during this crisis, and it is imperative for the industry to cash in on the change in consumer buying behavior and leverage technology to enable safe, well-informed, competitive, and superior experience in the entire home buying process for this new age home buyer. NoBroker.in is one of the best examples of this transformation and is well positioned to encash this golden opportunity. We are pleased and glad to welcome Saurabh Garg, one of the co-founders and Chief Business Officer of NoBroker.in, to this talk show. We will be discussing on the road to become a unicorn, the secret sauce for success. Saurabh is a student of IIT Bombay and IIM Ahmedabad. He started his career with the Hindustan Unilever Limited in the sales and marketing team and served for 3 years. He then started his entrepreneurial journey with Four Fountains De-Stress Spa in 2007. He later on went on to start NoBroker.in with 2 other co-founders and is now the Chief Business Officer at NoBroker.in. It's a platform which is revolutionary and aims to pursue strategic alliances with real estate developers and corporates to bring high quality supply and demand at a low cost. He built the marketing team from scratch and tried out new and disruptive solutions. NoBroker.in has achieved over 1 million app downloads within the first 3 years with surprisingly less marketing costs. It has the lowest customer acquisition cost in the competitive real estate in the sector. The platform offers end-to-end one-stop solution for property seekers, including services like rental agreements, movers and packer services, home loans, interiors, special packages for NRIs, relocation services for corporates, remote property management services, paperwork, documentation, lease agreement registrations, police verification, and society approvals. It also facilitates online rent payment. All these have helped NoBroker.in to become India's first PropTech unicorn startup and the 38th Indian startup to become a unicorn in 2021. Welcome to this show, Saurabh, and thank you for taking your time off your busy schedule to be on this show.
Thanks, Ramesh. It's a great pleasure to be on the show.
So, Saurabh, HUL is a dream company to work for. When I used to visit the campuses, when we used to ask the students which is the dream company, and one of them would always be Hindustan Levers. Most people stick with Hindustan Lever for long or move on to become the CEOs of other companies. What triggered you to leave Hindustan Levers and out of your comfort zone and become an entrepreneur and start a startup? So what was the Eureka moment for you?
HUL is, of course, a dream company for a lot of people. And for me also, I did my summers with HUL and then joined there. But I was very sure from the very beginning, from the time I was in school and when I joined IIT, that I want to do something of my own. I think what really excites me is solving a problem and building something. So that's what always excited me. So even when I was at IIT, for example, I did few attempts of starting something, some small things with one of my friends. We were thinking about multiple ideas and always starting up was something which really appealed to me. So when I was at Unilever, that time also, this was not the first idea. I mean, I thought of many ideas before that. We also wanted to, at some point of time, start a retail chain for smaller towns. That was one of the things, because that is something which I picked during my stint at Unilever, that the retail was highly unorganized as you go to the smaller towns. There were no organized grocery shops available. And this is something which I was contemplating before I met my other co-founders, and then we started looking at Four Fountains. But I think the major reason for me was this idea of solving a problem and building something from scratch. That is what appealed to me to start, rather than stay at Unilever, which was very structured, very, very great company to work. Of course, you learn a lot there. One of the biggest things which I've learned at Unilever is how to lead people, because as a 24-year-old, I was handling a business with 200 crores of turnover. There were 16 people whom I had to lead. Some of them were probably twice my age. So clearly, the learning is phenomenal. And then you work on great brands. You learn how the customers think about the brands. How do you position the brand? So immense learning. But I think that inner calling of solving a problem and building something is what made me quit the job and start on my own.
Great, Saurabh, that inner calling of trying to find a solution for every problem, right? Something unique. Going on, Saurabh, the late Dr. C.K. Prahalad, a well-known management guru, advocated the principles of core competence, right? He exhorted companies to stick to their core competence and leverage it for their success. You have defied the logic and moved from FMCG to wellness and now to reality business. So is the domain expertise and core competence essential for success, or it doesn't matter and you move from one to another and learn on the fly?
So I would say that there is a big common theme in all the things which I have done, whether it was Unilever, whether it was Four Fountains or No Broker. The common theme was understanding the customer problem, and I think that is something which is something which runs across all these things, because Unilever made me understand that how do you understand customer insights, filter them into propositions, and you can then target customers. So when I was thinking about starting Four Fountains, I think the same thing came in, that at that time, 2007, I for one of my stints at Unilever, I was in Europe, in Milan, and I saw that the spas were much common over there as compared to India. And when I came back, I realized that for a middle class person like me, I mean, a person who is working at one of the top corporates, it was impossible to go to a spa regularly because spas only existed in 5-star hotels and they will cost you 4,000, 5,000 rupees in 2007. Huge problem. And then also there was no scientific thing which ran behind that why a spa will help you de-stress or spa will help you in whatever problem which you have. So I think the entire genesis of Four Fountains was that can you make spas affordable so that a middle class person can go regularly? And is there a scientific thought behind everything that we are doing? I think the same thing happened with No Broker also. So, it was crazy to see that huge amount of money is paid as brokerage every year, while the only thing that the broker is charging as brokerage is information asymmetry. You might want to rent or buy a house which is one floor above where you're living, but you don't know that. And that's why you'll have to pay 1 month rent as a brokerage, or you have to pay 2% as a brokerage if you're buying the house. So that's how this entire thing started. And then as we kept on progressing, we realized that, apart from just the real estate transaction, there are a lot of other things which people need to do when they're in their real estate journey, whether it is, rent agreement after you find a home, packers and movers, or if you're buying a home, you need home loans, interior services. So, again, all these were customer problems and customer insights. And from that only No Broker developed into a one-stop shop. So whatever you need to do in your real estate journey, you can do it No Broker. So I would say that that's a common thread which runs between all these businesses. I think core competency is probably relevant, but there are bigger themes like technology, customer insights, which are much, much more important. And if you can adapt yourself to that, then probably you can solve multiple problems.
So I guess you've converted the customer insights and solving problems as your core competence rather than the domain per se.
Right.
Right. In an online real estate market, Saurabh, which is already crowded and had established players like magicbricks.com, 99 Acres, Common Floors, Property Tiger, Housing.com, Makan.com, Square Yards, what made you choose real estate industry as a next startup? And what is your USP that differentiates you from competition?
So this actually came from my personal experience. I used to live in Bombay, and when I quit my Unilever job, so Unilever provided a house to live in, a beautiful 2 BHK house, which I used to live in Bandra. So I quit the job, the house also went. And then I had to find a house. And of course, there was no salary which was coming. So I wanted to find a house without a broker, because I always felt that it's waste to pay brokerage for finding a house. I tried for almost 2 months. I used all the platforms which you mentioned. Almost 2 months I tried, but struggled very badly. Couldn't find a house. Ultimately, I had to pay 1 month brokerage to find a house in Bombay. And even after I found that house, the funny part was after 1 year, when I was renewing the agreement with the same landlord, the broker came back and demanded the brokerage again. So that was kind of crazy. So I decided that day itself that it's a huge problem. It needs to be solved. And I booked the domain name nobroker.in at that time itself, saying that we have to solve this. And then I started speaking to, after some years, I was speaking to Akhil and Amit, who are my co-founders at No Broker, and realized that they have also undergone same problems. And that's when we said that millions of people like us go through this problem every year whenever they're renting a house, or every time whenever they're buying a house. So can we solve it with the help of technology? And that's how the entire genesis of No Broker came in. And we realized that all the other platforms like 99 Acres, Magic Bricks, these are acting as advertising platforms for brokers. So if you go to these platforms, you actually end up finding brokers. You don't find direct owners or sellers on that platform. So that's why we also chose the name, which is very, very direct and communicates exactly what we want to do. So No Broker, if you look at the term, we started in 2014, and from there, the No Broker and No Brokerage terms, they started becoming popular. And if you look at Google Trends, you will see that they have jumped like that in the last 6-7 years. But we were very clear. That is what we want to do. Connect people directly, a customer to customer platform, ensuring that only genuine owners, tenants, buyers and sellers can do anything on the platform. No agent or no broker can do any activity on the platform. That's what our main theme was.
I also saw that in addition to this, you have a host of other allied services to housing, the common pain areas of the tenants or the buyers, like right, the documentation, your interiors, your relocation services, legal and other things are also which you offer on your platform. Right? So that could also be some of your unique differentiator from competition.
Yeah, of course. So again, I mean, if you look at what happens in our case, if you're, for example, buying a home or if you're renting a home, you are interacting directly with the owner or seller. And after that, you will have to now say, okay, how will I get the documentation done? Or how will I get a home loan if I'm buying a house? What happens in the case of other platforms where brokers are there, the entire transaction moves offline. And then the people then either ask the brokers or they ask somebody else to solve for those issues. But in our case, our customers only came and told us, it's great, I found a house, but what should I do with my rental agreement? What should I do with my, sale agreement? So we kept, because we, like I said, that we are very focused on solving customer problem. We kept on listening to those guys and understanding what their issues are and kept adding these things to our list of things which we offer. And I think over a period of time, we became a one-stop shop. You need anything in real estate, you can do it, no broker itself.
Great. So going on, Saurabh, the digital footprint of real estate as it is still in its nascent stage, right? Despite the real estate websites being around for some time now, home buyers prefer to stick to the physical world mode, right? Checking out newspapers, classifieds, word of mouth, going through a real estate agent, visiting properties and vetting paperwork before deciding. So online reality is still majorly a realm of initial prospects. Do you think times have changed and the digital real estate market will be able to compete and win over them? How do you plan to compete with the physical world?
So I think a lot has changed now. I would say that almost 90% of the searches now start online. People will start their search online and then they might move offline after that, which is fine, because I think it's a huge decision in your life. If you're investing anywhere between 40-50 lakhs to 4-5 crores, you would want to visit the property before you actually make the decision. So what we're seeing is that what used to happen earlier in the pre-internet world, people used to visit 8 or 9 properties or 10 properties before they decide on what to rent or what to buy, because there was no other option. They just had to go there and get that stuff. But now what is happening is people are checking these 8 or 9 properties online. They're shortlisting 2 or 3 which they like from all the criteria which they have, because they're able to reject those 6 or 7 properties since the information is available. And then the remaining 2 or 3, they visit offline and then decide which one of these they finally want to buy. I think so. That's how that has changed. I think COVID has also made a lot of changes that now clearly a lot of more people have moved online. The decision to find details of property is now more and more online. And during the COVID time, we have also seen where people have actually bought properties without seeing them, only seeing the details online, going through video walkthroughs. People have rented and bought both completely online. But I think that was a temporary phenomena. I think what is going to happen is that people would want to see the details, shortlist, reject what they don't like, visit 1 or 2 that they like, and then decide what they want to go ahead with.
So which also means that people will now be spoiled for choices, right? Hitherto, probably they were restricted to whatever they could physically see within their radius. But now people can look at pan-India, right? People now are starting to look at pan-India, not really restricted to their geographic location, and then are spoiled for choices, and then look at how do we form up the buying decision.
You're right. And I think that's the power of internet. It just, you might be, for example, living in Bangalore, but want to buy a property in Delhi. Just think that pre-internet, you actually had to travel to Delhi, maybe make 4 or 5 trips to decide which one you want to buy. Now you can see all the details online. You can go through a video walkthrough, and only when you find something which you really like, you might have to make one trip and you can do everything on that. So we have seen examples now where people list a property at no broker for renting or selling, and we have rented property in like 3 hours. We have sold property in like 24 hours. That's the kind of speed which the internet is able to, or the technology is able to do that, because you are able to showcase it to large number of audience at
Right.
one go, which otherwise you might not have been able to.
Absolutely. The reach is what has been the biggest advantage for both the buyer and the seller.
Yeah.
Sort of a controversial question. Many believe that the startup ecosystem is all about valuations and not profitability, and that the valuations are exaggerated and not realistic. Byju's, Zomato, Paytm, Unacademy, Dream11 have had huge valuations but are far from profitable. Your company, No Brokers, India's first PropTech unicorn startup and the 38th Indian startup to become a unicorn in a short period of time. How far do you think these valuations are? And is there a risk of a startup bubble bursting?
So Ramesh, I would say that I would not like to put all these startups in the same bucket. I would say that some might be overvalued, but some I think are fairly valued. It also depends on the kind of offering which they have. But I think the most important thing for any person to look at is that all these typically startups are creating a network effect. These are network businesses. For example, if you look at No Broker itself, it's a network business. As more and more people come on the platform, on the demand side or supply side, the network keeps on becoming bigger. And with that network becoming bigger, we are moving towards a situation where we become the first port of call before people go to any other thing, whether it is any other platform or go offline or go to their friends or families, because we have more and more choices to offer to people. For example, today, if you look at it, there will be almost 4 lakh properties live at No Broker at this point of time. So clearly, if you go and look at, you'll see multiple options, and these are more options than what a physical broker can show you, or if you ask your friends who can tell you about. Now, if you look at the current situation, if we want to become profitable, we actually can become profitable today. Because as soon as we say, okay, let's not grow as fast as that, let's not grow the network as large as quickly as we are doing right now, we can very quickly become profitable. But that would make us a small but profitable company. What we want is that we want to make the network very large, so we become kind of first choice or the only choice that people have when they want to do any real estate transaction. And at that point of time, we can actually be immensely profitable. Just look at what an example in case in study is Amazon. They started in 1994 and they were not profitable for a very, very long time. But when they decided to become profitable with a huge network after that, there is actually no physical retailer who even comes close to what they're doing. I think even their GMV would probably be more than what a Walmart does in the US market. So I think that's the power of technology, that it creates these large networks which makes you super competitive, and then it is very difficult for anybody else to compete with you. I think that's the promise which any startup offers, that we will be able to offer such a solution which no one else can match, and that's why our network is going to be huge, and that makes us much more profitable than anyone else in the market. So I think that's the situation where we are, because if you look at it, till 2016, pre-Geo, internet penetration was also very low in India. Post Geo is when you will see that the internet penetration has really increased. The adoption of internet has really become much bigger. And even I think companies like Xiaomi have done a great job by providing a cheap smartphone, because prior to that, if you have to access internet through phone, it was not so easy. So clearly all these things have helped a lot in this entire ecosystem. And that's where we believe that what is going to happen is that if you look at the last 5 years, we have seen a massive growth that technology companies have seen. But I think this next decade is where we will see companies becoming profitable, companies actually living up to the valuation that they have got. I think that's something which we have to see in this coming decade.
Okay, so you don't see a threat in terms of bubble bursting?
I don't think so. Of course, there would be some companies who would not be able to scale as they have envisaged. So there'll be some failures, of course. But if you ask me for the overall ecosystem, I think it's quite solid.
As an entrepreneur and a leader, what is your advice for aspiring entrepreneurs who are trying to break out from this crowded market and make a name for themselves and also become a successful unicorn like you? What is your advice to them?
I would say there are two things. One, clearly be focused on the customer. If you're understanding the customer well, if you understand the customer insights, their problems, and you keep on solving for them, the customer is going to come back to you every time that they need any help. So I think that is very, very important. I mean, like I mentioned earlier also, that in our case, from a platform which probably a customer needs to use once a year for renting a home or once in 4 or 5 years to buy a home, the customer now uses us every 3 months for, say, a cleaning service or a painting service, or one of these, uses us every month, for example, for paying rent, and uses us every day 4 to 5 times on a No Brokerhood app, which is basically our visitor and society management app. So, I mean, just because we kept on solving this, now we're in the life of the customer every day. And of course, which means that our revenue pool has also increased substantially. So that is one. Second, I think very important for any startup founder is to be resilient. I think that's extremely important because there are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be tough times, but this resilience is what is going to help you. I mean, just to give you our example, when we were starting No Broker, we were at a stage when we were about to raise our Series A, first round of funding. And at that time, housing raised $90 million from SoftBank. And suddenly, the entire environment changed because people said that now there is a player who has raised $90 million. Is there enough space for 2 or 3 players to be there? But I think we believe that we can still do it. We have a very differentiated product, which is trying to connect owners, sellers, buyers, and tenants directly, while housing is still having a great product, but trying to connect with brokers. So we believed in ourselves, and finally we got our Series A. And even then, after we started, I think 1 year after that, we had our office in HSR layout. It was a typical bungalow kind of startup office. We saw that some 40-50 people were coming towards our office. We thought it's some kind of a procession which is going, but those were actually brokers trying to attack our office, break into our office and hurt our people. And that was a crazy day because they tried to vandalize the entire office, and we had to vacate the office the same day. And for the next 2 months, then we were working from makeshift offices. So, I mean, that's when you realize that, I mean, you were never prepared for this. We never thought that anything like this can happen. But probably we were naive because we should have realized that we were disrupting and there might be some repercussions of that and should have been prepared. But you know what that incident did? That incident made us realize, one, that we are doing something right. And that's why, there are people who are feeling the heat and trying to, this is a reaction of that. Second, I think the entire team came strong, very strong together. The entire team started believing in the mission and came very, very close together. Those are the times when we were actually, we didn't have an office. We were sitting on mattresses in a makeshift office and doing our work. But I think that clearly, that mission of solving this problem and making, helping people save brokerage came very strong to everyone. So I would say that these are the two most important things any startup founder should consider. Focus on customer problems and be resilient.
And self-belief?
I think self-belief will of course come once you understand the customer problem well. Once you believe that this is a big problem, self-belief will automatically come after that.
Right, because there have been players before you, right? Housing.com in the earlier avatar started off something like y'all, but then it fell through. And of course, now it's coming back.
Yeah, because I believe that they didn't focus on customer. They focused on investors and they focused on making the product look good,
Right.
but not on what the customer wanted.
So lastly, Saurabh, what does the future look like for NoBroker.in? How are you going to leverage technology to your competitive advantage?
So look, I think we have just scratched the surface right now. The brokerage paid in India every year is around $19 billion. So now 1,40,000 crores is paid as brokerage every year. So we have probably just scratched the surface. There is a long way to go. So for us, I think a few things which are definitely our priority areas. One, we are present in 6 cities: Bombay, Bangalore, Pune, Chennai, Hyderabad, Delhi, NCR. We want to go deeper in these cities, increase our supply and demand both, make the platform much more stronger. Second, we would also want to expand. We would want to expand to the top 50 cities of India in the next 2 to 3 years, because we believe that the same solution is required for other cities also. So that is something which we're going to do. NoBrokerHood, which is our visitor and society management app, we are present in 10,000 societies right now. We think it's a phenomenal solution and gives us a great inroad into the housing societies. So that we want to expand to 100,000 societies in the next 3 to 4 years. And lastly, now we feel that like you in the beginning, you mentioned that real estate sector went through ups and downs, and the last 7-8 years have not been great in terms of buying houses. We believe that has changed now with the very low interest rates, forced saving due to COVID, and people understanding the importance of owning physical assets. So that has changed, and now we think it's a multi-year upcycle which is there, and there'll be a lot of buying which will happen in the next 5 to 10 years. So we want to focus a lot more on our buy and sell vertical, bring more suppliers, partner with more developers, and provide a great solution to any buyer who's coming on the platform. So clearly, I think there is a long way for NoBroker to go from here. We have just started our journey. There is a lot more which we need to solve.
But what about technology? Because today we're talking about digital consumer experience. So how are you going to, what are we going to see future enhancements in NoBroker.in, or what are the future technologies you want to leverage it for a better, superior digital consumer experience?
So look, everything that we do with the help of technology. For example, we do not have any feet on street, which basically shows houses. Only for a limited, where we work with developers, we have some people on ground who help. But otherwise, everything happens with the help of technology. So I think going forward also, we will keep investing in technologies to solve customer problems, whether it is in terms of our real estate offering, whether it is in terms of our home services, financial services. Technology is the backbone of whatever we do. We don't do anything which requires a lot of infrastructure to be built. So we don't have any offices, for example, in any of the cities. Everything happens from one office, which is in Bangalore. So we will continue doing that, continue using technology as a backbone for everything that we do.
Right. So lastly, Saurabh, when not working, what else excites you other than work, or other than NoBroker.in? What else? What do you do otherwise? What excites you otherwise?
I'm sure that you can see the bookshelf behind me. So I love reading.
Voracious reader.
Yeah, so reading is my passion. Apart from that, I like to travel. So, I mean, not been able to travel for the last 2 years because of COVID, but otherwise we used to travel quite a bit. I also play squash. So our society has a great facility, and I end up playing squash quite a bit. And lastly, I think spend a lot of time with my 1-year-old son. I think that's what helps me clear my mind and forget all the worries. So yeah, that's what I do.
Great, Saurabh. I just want to wrap up by saying that as confidence returns to the real estate, the industry faces a number of fundamental shifts that will shape its future. As you said, technology is here to stay in the real estate industry and will disrupt real estate economics. It will alter the economics of the industry and also change the way the real estate developers and investment community operates. Digital tools like VR, AR, and 3D will help wider reach and also enhance buying experience. Though these digital interventions have proved very useful, it cannot be at the cost of a physical experience, as you also agree. The future is going to be a hybrid model of phygital experience and will define and shape the future of the real estate industry. All in all, exciting times for the industry and home buyers. Thank you, Saurabh, for your wonderful insights, and wishing that you scale greater heights and many more unicorns to come from your stable. Thanks to all our viewers and patrons for watching this episode of People at Work. Thank you.
Thanks, Ramesh.